I was reading this morning in the Gospel of John, one of the accounts of the resurrection, and Thomas, who needed to touch the wounded side of Jesus in order for him to believe, which reminded me of a story that happened to us. It's this woman in her late 20s. This was a Satanist High Priest daughter who had known nothing but Satanism all of her life. And she apparently got in the know of the university students that were coming to Christ, and they were being delivered at our home. And so they thought maybe best to disrupt that. And so she came, and but she wouldn't come out of the car. She looked like a caged animal in this car, like she just wanted to run. And to make a long story short, we reconnected again that same week, and what we found out was that she was puzzled that her 8 demon protectors would not come near us as she tried to get them to come near us. And in fact, she was telling us that, and I said, well, tell them to come close. And they just would not. They had made some excuses. And so she was puzzled by that. And so I don't remember how many days after or evening she called at about 11, 12 o'clock at night. And she basically began to express that, she was puzzled that there was power on us that she couldn't figure out. And I just shared the gospel with her, and it was a prolonged time of conversation, trying to coax her into believing the gospel, sharing the gospel, and just sharing about Jesus. And she was at this time, because she was listening to me against the will of her 8 demon protectors. She was being tormented by demons, and she was being jabbed, being hurt. And this went on, and about 4 o'clock in the morning or so, I was still talking to her about Jesus, and I was just kind of coaxing her to say, just call the name of Jesus. She would say, but she wouldn't be able to get it out, because they would just prod her, or they would hurt her when she would try to say it. And finally she said it. And all of a sudden I hear this gasp on the other end of the phone, and I get this vision in my head at the very exact same time, like I was watching what was going on in her room. And I said, well, what's going on? She said, it's him. I said, who? This is Jesus. He's finally able to say Jesus. And I said, what is he saying? And man, I tell you what, it was so amazing. It's just like straight out of the gospel, like quoting direct Bible verses that she's never heard of before. As a Satanist, there's no way she could have quoted it unless she was repeating what Jesus was saying. And then she said, what is wrong with his side? Why is there a gash on his side? And I was able to tell her about the wounds that paid her price to set her free. And she received Jesus into her life that night. And within the next 7 days, she was completely free of legions of demons. Jesus is alive. He lives.